Pokemon trainers, gym leaders, Tauros lassoers, whatever you view yourself as in the Pokemon world, welcome back to the Bros and Badges podcast. Today we have a lot of topics we're going to cover, but the main one that we're going to start with is LeafGreen, FireRed. It's a big retrospective about the games, what they mean to us, our time playing them, and then also what we think Game Freak could learn from these games, and also maybe in what ways those games have been a little bit antiquated, and what ways the franchise has evolved since then. And then later on, we are going to talk about what games we think are coming to the eShop next. Since LeafGreen and FireRed just came out, could we see Heart Gold, Soul Silver? Could we see another game? We're going to talk all about that. We're also going to talk about the 30th anniversary of Pokemon just as a whole, if we think Game Freak dropped enough. And then we're going to end with our first ever poll, so stick around if you want to be a part of that. But without further ado, we're going to dive right into our first topic, which is the retrospective. We are looking back at LeafGreen and FireRed. Oh boy, feels so good to have these games on the eShop. Joe, have you had a chance to play these at all since they dropped on the eShop?
Well, absolutely, Zach. I am nothing if not a Pokemon whale. I bought them the moment they went up on the eShop, and I waited patiently for it to drop right as the Pokemon Presents came out. So, yeah, I mean, I had to get it, and
Which
I know
one did
for you definitely... let me unveil that big secret right away. I got FireRed. FireRed is the one I went with. I originally played Blue, but like original Gen 1. And then when FireRed and LeafGreen came out, I had LeafGreen, so had to get FireRed. I did eventually get FireRed as a kid, but I don't think I ever played fully through it. Not that it makes much of a big difference, but I thought now was the time. So I have FireRed, playing through it right now. And I believe you went a different route.
I did go a different route. To be completely honest, it took me a little bit to pick up this game just because I was really into Pokopia and I don't know, all these games have been releasing around the same time. It's actually kind of crazy how stacked the release has been for Pokemon titles lately. We got LeafGreen, FireRed. We just had XD Gale of Darkness. We had Pokopia. Champions is coming out. Yeah, it's actually a pretty stacked lineup. So it took me a little bit, but I picked up LeafGreen. I initially played Blue like you, but look at that. We're going different routes now. We're going different paths, different journeys. I don't know what it was. I was just like, I want to play LeafGreen. I mentioned this before, but my brother was the one who got Pokemon Red when it came out, and I got Pokemon Blue. It was one of those things where when those games came out, we both wanted the dragon one, oh my gosh, there's a dragon on that one. That's the one I want. And Josh naturally got Red and I got Blue, but it was okay. It ended up working out because now Squirtle's one of my favorite Pokemon, which I almost went with Squirtle this pass. I really thought about it. I was like, he's my guy. But I was like, I don't give enough love to Bulbasaur, and I've always wanted to do a playthrough as Bulbasaur. So I probably have already, but I did. I got Bulbasaur. Yeah. So, and that was part of why I wanted to get LeafGreen. I was like, it just feels right. He's on the cover. That's the Pokemon I'm going to play as. I also like some of the exclusives in LeafGreen. I want to say a little more than FireRed, but it's tough. I miss out on Arcanine, but I get Ninetales. So yeah, there's some give and take. That's all right. I also don't need 2 Fire Dogs. You know what I'm saying? So I can only get one anyway. Or Firefox.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, man, I've been having a blast playing it again. It's super cool seeing it on the eShop. I think just impact wise, everyone has been waiting for these games to drop, and so it was huge when they announced it. It was very weird how they announced it actually, because it was kind of a almost like a shadow drop. They're like, oh, it looks like they didn't mean to post that the games were coming out, and then they did post, and then they were just like, well, we're not taking it back now. So they released the games. They came out the same day as the Pokemon Direct, and I know the internet just exploded. This set the world on fire. I have so many friends who have not played Pokemon in forever, and they immediately started playing Pokemon again just to buy these games. I met this dude a couple weeks ago who's like, oh yeah, he's a Pokemon card collector. He just collects cards. But he was like, I haven't played the games in forever, but as soon as I saw that they dropped FireRed, LeafGreen, I was on that. So it's pretty cool to see people just rallying around these games again. But how about you? What do you think about the release? What was that like? You said you downloaded it day one, so that's epic. Obviously that inspired something in you.
Again, as I mentioned, I am just a whale when it comes to Pokemon. Unfortunately, I do tend to pick up anything that they throw at me. And I will say, I do want to touch on the release real quick, because I think you made a point that I definitely agree with, for one, and I think kind of nobody really talked about much once the games dropped, and that is I don't think it was planned to be announced a week prior to the release. I'm almost positive it was supposed to be a shadow drop on the day of the presents, but I did see there were quite a few people who saw it on the eShop the night before the official announcement. So I fall into the camp that they were going to release it as a shadow drop on that Pokemon Presents, but somehow it leaked early. Someone, pressed the wrong button and it showed up on the eShop, and they just kind of had to roll with the punches and throw that trailer out because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to have announced that 7 days before the Pokemon Presents and that being the only shadow drop that day. Just very, very weird. Do I care? No, bizarre. Absolutely not. I had it pre-ordered, but definitely just weird from a business standpoint. But moving on from the meta of the actual drop. Yeah, man, I was super excited for it to come out. I haven't played these games in a long time. And, I actually to talk a little bit about something that I think a lot of people discussed was, why buy this game if you could just emulate it? Again, not to be like an extreme like Nintendo fanboy, I do agree that they can be a little egregious with holding out on older games, making it impossible to play these older games, and the cost of these games go, skyrocket through the roof.
But Joe, if they hold off on releasing them, they can just remake them and remaster them and charge you exorbitant prices. Come on, exactly. Joe. What are you talking about?
Why play Fire Red and Leaf Green when you could buy the $60 Pokemon Let's Go? But
exactly.
So I
actually very much enjoy it. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, I love the Let's Go, which we got to do a video on that actually, because I think our opinions on it are pretty
vastly
funny.
Different than a lot of people's.
Yeah, than the majority for sure. But yeah, I just think that, like, again, I'm sympathetic to these thoughts, this thought process that, like, hey, Nintendo should make these games readily available so that more people can play them. And Nintendo has gotten better, despite what people want to say. NSO is a fantastic deal. You are paying almost nothing annually, especially compared to like Xbox and Sony. You're paying like way less, and you're getting this big like log of games that maybe some people aren't a big fan of, but there's a lot of great stuff on there. But anyway, I digress. Seeing them release this game on official hardware got me hyped in a way that I think most Pokemon fans also got and weren't really ready to feel. It feels so unreal to see an actual Pokemon game be supported on actual new Nintendo hardware. I kind of felt similar during the 3DS era for I believe it was the 25th anniversary. They dropped Red, Blue, Yellow on the 3DS eShop, and then they a year later, or maybe 2 years later, dropped Crystal. It's just a super cool thing to see actual Pokemon games drop legitimately, not having to emulate it, not having to go through these, backdoor, which we don't condone in this house. But it's just nice to see an official release. And while I am sad that we don't have something like online trading and online battling, the fact that we do still have trading and battling locally is still really cool, because it still promotes what Pokemon is actually, meant to promote. And that is going out, hanging out with your friends, trading these Pokemon. I mean, Zach, now that you have Leaf Green and I have Fire Red, we are in the prime position that Pokemon has built its entire empire on. And that is just having your friend and going, hey, I like your fox that is on fire. I'm going to give you my dog that's on fire. And as scuffed as it may, have felt, and as much negativity as there was with it being priced at $20 or it not having online capabilities, I still feel as a Pokemon fan, I was not like, the rug was not pulled from under me. Like I still think when I paid my $20, when I handed my $20 to Nintendo, who clearly needed it, I got something back that I at least felt was worth that much. Now, Zach, as someone who held out a little bit longer, didn't pre-order the moment the trailer went up, What are your thoughts on it? What was your initial thoughts, and how do you feel now that you've made that jump? Was it worth it?
Yeah, I was going to save this till towards the end, but since we're already talking about price, I'll just bring it up with that in mind, because the price to me, like, it seemed high for what it is, I suppose, initially, but I also wasn't remotely surprised. I feel like, I think sometimes this is also like, sorry, but this is kind of the YouTube sphere, is like a lot of people were talking about the games coming out. They're like, oh, if those games ever drop, they'll probably be free on the eShop. And I always just kind of like, went like this when I heard that, because I was like, you are setting people up for disappointment. Like, I'm sorry, I always knew these games were going to at least be $10 a piece. They were never going to be free on the eShop. Yes. Would I prefer it if they were $10, $5? Absolutely. And would I much prefer it if they were just free on the eShop? Absolutely. But the reason I knew it was never going to be just a free game on the eShop was Pokemon makes so much more money doing re-releases of these games. Why do you think they've been remaking Diamond and Pearl, or, you know, Ruby and Sapphire, Silver and Gold? Like, you know, they've remade these games because they make more money doing it. And it'd be one thing if like only a few people bought them, but the problem is that so many people buy the remakes, you know, and I'm the problem too. I love playing the remakes. I think it's always so much fun to go back to, you know, to a region and to get to see it in new graphics and new design, and, you know, to get to play these nostalgic regions, but modernized, you know. And so I just, because of that, I'm like, if they're ever going to drop just, you know, just the old games again without a remake or remaster, then they're going to charge for it. Do I like it? No, not at all. But I also I wasn't surprised. The main reason that I held off on playing it wasn't because it was $20. I was like, oh, okay, $20. Like, I'm not surprised. I will say what they should have done, what they really should have done, is they should have made $20 like, they should have made it so you could get both games for $20, I think. Yeah,
a bundle. Maybe 15 each, 20 if you get them together. Just
exactly. That's what they should have done.
Kind of push that.
Because it does feel like it would have felt a lot better to be like, oh, I can own LeafGreen and FireRed for $20. Even if I don't play both of them, it would just feel better. It would feel a lot better. And they're not going to really lose out on anything by doing that. Because I really doubt a lot of people are buying both games. You can't trade with yourself anyway. Yeah. You know, so but just having
not without jumping through a lot of hoops.
Pokemon Home and a lot of other things. But so the price didn't really bother me. I know some people are upset about it, and you know, rightly so. Like, I get it. I think it's frustrating. It's definitely frustrating how often it seems like Game Freak charges for things that they really shouldn't charge for. That said, I just wasn't surprised. I definitely wasn't surprised. I was like, oh, this is a very Game Freak move. $20 sounds about right. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think they could have been even more egregious. They could have been like, this is a $50 game, and I probably never would have bought it if that was the case. I'd just be like, okay, 50, cool.
50's pushing it. Yeah.
50's pushing it. I like way pushing it. But yeah, the main reason I held off is just because I've played these games a lot. You know, I played Blue, like I said. I played either LeafGreen or FireRed. I can't remember which one, but I played that when it came out again with my brother. We had a blast. Seeing those games updated back then was like so magical. It was like such a moment. Like, oh my gosh, these are the games we grew up with, and we were still kids when when FireRed LeafGreen came out. I know, but it just felt like, oh, I'm getting to like re-experience this, but it looks so much better. And like, I think those games now are realistically like what we imagined Pokemon Red and Blue looking like when we played those games.
For sure. Actually, you know, yeah, that's a great
the way
comparison.
that I envision like Pokemon Red and Blue now is actually how LeafGreen and FireRed looks. Like, that is the you know, that pixel art style that I just love. Seeing it on my Switch 2, you know, it's upscaled. Maybe that's not perfect, but just seeing it upscaled and like being able to play it on my TV and handheld on the gorgeous Switch 2 screen, like, it just looks so good. Like, I love it, man. I'm having so much fun. I've already had like so many like funny moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what playing those games was like. Like, I went through the first forest, the Verdian Forest, and it was actually hilarious. Because I only have my Bulbasaur, and like, I was like, I kind of know the Pokemon I want to get, and I don't really want a Pidgey right now. I don't really want some of the bug Pokemon. I want to wait a little bit for some primo mons, if you will. If you're a bug catcher, hey, more power to you. But exactly. I was going through the woods, and I was just like, I slowly noticed that my PP was like running out on my Bulbasaur, and like, he's not super effective against anything in the woods. You know, a lot of it's actually ineffective because if I use if I use Vine Whip or something, it doesn't do a whole lot. So I'm just using Tackle the whole time, and I was also using Leech Seed, you know, get some health back as that's going, like, oh, it's an extra attack. And I got to the end of the forest, And then I was like, oh crap, I'm out of PP for tackle. And I was like, okay, I guess I got to use Vine Whip. I realized like Vine Whip had very little PP as well. And so I ran out of Vine Whip. I was literally on the last trainer in Viridian Forest, and I had nothing to attack him with. Nothing. I was out of Leech Seed. I was I was out of Vine Whip. I was out of tackle. So I'm just using Growl on this Pokemon the whole time. Like, and I'm building up his attack, or no, I'm lowering his attack when I actually just want him to kill me. And it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I can't do anything. I'm just stuck. I didn't catch any other Pokemon, and it was actually kind of a glorious moment. I was just like, this is awesome. Like this is equally how these games feel a little bit antiquated now, because we're not really used to that, but also it was awesome. It felt great. I was like, cool. So now I had to go back and do the whole forest again. But it was just funny. It was it was a good moment. And I don't know.
Sounds like a nightmare, dude.
Getting lost in the woods, like wanting to dodge every bit of grass because I'm sick of running into Caterpies. Like that's Leaf Green, baby. Good times. No, but it's been so fun. The games in general, I wanted to really do this because it's just kind of a fun retrospective to like look back at Leaf Green, Fire Red, also just Blue and Red, like what the games meant to us as kids and stuff. For me, it just recalls being in the car going on, because I used to live in Idaho, and my family would go back and forth between California a lot. And so because we kind of lived out here, but we were kind of back and forth. And we would just play these games in the car. Like that was what got us through, honestly. Like I guarantee it saved my parents a bunch of, when are we going to get there? By just letting us play Pokemon Red and Blue on our Game Boys. Yeah, it was incredible. It was such a fun time. Little snack breaks, going to 7-Elevens and trading with my brother, using that trade cord felt like kind of like magic back in the day. We were like, oh, I can put my Pokemon on your game. You can put your Pokemon on my game. It's just something really, really magical about it. So yeah, it just, honestly, it just feels so great seeing the games back on, like seeing the games on the eShop being available on Switch 2. It feels awesome. I really like seeing him again in the 2D pixel art style. Like it's just cool to see the Mons, the old designs again. And yeah, in some ways the games feel so nostalgic, and in other ways they also feel like super antiquated. But I want to talk a little bit about that. Now we'll transition kind of into Joe. What ways do you think modern Game Freak can learn from Leaf Green, Fire Red / Red and Blue, and what ways do you think these games are a little bit antiquated and maybe we could distance ourselves? Are there anything you'd like to see come back? Is there anything you'd wish would never come back?
Yeah, for sure. I've thought about this a lot, especially while playing Fire Red. I'm going to start with some things that are antiquated just because I'd rather set the stage for, what we left behind and what maybe I'm happy we left behind. For one, I just think the quality of life of where Pokemon is at right now is in such a sweet spot that like current Pokemon gamers don't understand exactly. Like ones who didn't come from the trenches like us, Red and Blue, don't exactly remember just how tough it was to operate these games at times. For one, you look at things like poison. This is one of my favorite things that I remembered going back into Fire Red, is that poison hurts you outside of battle. And that continued on throughout every generation, except the difference is that in Generation 3, which is Fire Red and Leaf Green, I know it's a Gen 1 game, but it came out during Gen 3 time. Yeah. Those remates still followed the old rule of your Pokemon can die if you have poison outside of battle. So in the new games, usually if you're poisoned, you're running around, you're getting that little tick every couple of steps. It'll stop at 1 HP and then the poison will subside. In the old games, nope. If you're poisoned, if you don't make it to a Pokemon Center or have an antidote or have a potion that you could keep throwing at your Pokemon, that thing is fainting. You are losing it. So if you're doing something like a Nuzlocke or something, maybe a little bit, you're trying to make the game a little bit harder for you, that is something to keep in mind. Also, just in general, in terms of like pacing, I think it's crazy how long it takes for you to get the running shoes in this game, for instance. I don't think you get it until like after you get to Pewter City, which is, where the first gym is. So you literally have to just walk the whole time. It's really crazy. It's really annoying. And I'm glad we left that behind, as well as, and I think the biggest thing for me is, look, I understand both sides of this argument, and that is how XP is actually gained. Having multiple Pokemon in this game is equivalent to literally picking your favorite child, because they don't raise equally. You need to be training one Pokemon at a time. There is no experience share for everybody. And if you do have experience share, it is still not the best option, because it'll take half of the experience that the Pokemon who is out is getting and divvy that up to whoever is holding. It is super antiquated the way training your Pokemon are in the old games. But also in the same sense, I don't really like the way Pokemon now does it. Mm-hmm. Modern day Pokemon is equivalent to press A, you know, and it hurts to say a lot of the times, but really you can pick your favorite Pokemon, and it's probably your starter at that point, and just boost its level all the way up. Everyone else is following. And now in the new games, even when you catch a Pokemon, you gain experience. That wasn't the case in older games. If you caught a Pokemon, you were sacrificing the experience of beating it to capture it. So it was kind of like again, in a way, a give and take. Now,
all right, well, we'll touch on this real quick, because I actually think that maybe I'm on the outskirts of this. My ideal situation would actually be that and not the other. So I love catching Pokemon, and that gives my team experience. And I'll tell you why, just because I actually love that being a mechanic in modern games, but mainly because it incentivizes me to catch Pokemon. Because sometimes I'm like, if I just want to get XP from fighting a Pokemon, like I'm not going to want to catch it, you know, like, but then other times I'm like, I really do want an incentive to build out my Pokedex. And if I can also get a little bit of EXP, then I want to catch it, you know, like that just feels, and I think maybe there could be a give and take. I don't think you should get a lot of experience from catching Pokemon, but as long as you get like a little bump across your team, I think that's actually really cool to incentivize catching. That said, I then on the other side want them to go back to like making the XP share like not as strong, you know, like I think your main Pokemon should get the main amount of the boost, and if we want to spread it out to the other guys, sure, maybe like a little bump, but I don't think it should be nearly as strong as it is, because it does really take away from the grinding, and some people hate the grinding, so I understand that, but I do think that there is a little bit of skill that comes in, like, oh yeah, that is what Pokemon is, like you got to go train in the woods, you know, this is your Rocky moment, go out there, train up, you know, and if you want to make it harder on yourself, you could just never train and only fight gym leaders and Pokemon trainers, and you'll probably have the hardest game imaginable. You know what I'm saying? So if you really want to make it harder, you could do that. But I think a blend of the two personally is where I'm leaning. I'm sure there are a lot of people that don't want catching Pokemon to grow the EXP of Pokemon at all. I like it though, because for me personally, I think in modern games it does incentivize catching, and I think that's cool. It's a cool way to be like, yeah, I actually do want to build out my Pokedex, because it also helps me raise my team. So, but what do you think about that, Joe? What are your thoughts?
I do agree with you. No, I 100%. I'm with you on that, and kind of we alluded to it at the start. Just to quickly touch on it, we did both like the Let's Go games, which. That is kind of their main way of having you raise your Pokemon. They went the opposite route of when you're having these wild encounters, you are just catching Pokemon. And it's really the Pokemon battles that are the only time that you're gaining experience from defeating Pokemon. There is no defeating wild Pokemon. And while I do think that maybe that was too far in the direction of catching, I did like that as the introduction to gaining experience for catching, because I do agree with you. I think it does incentivize the correct thing of, hey, gotta catch them all, because now I am, like I said, I'm playing through FireRed right now, and I'm doing something similar to you where I'm only catching the Pokemon that I want. So my team right now is I have my Charmander. Yes, I know, basic. But I have my Charmander, I have a Mankey, and I have a Pikachu. And those are the only three on my team right now. And that's kind of like what I'm rolling with.
That's a classic lineup right there, man. I like it. That's good.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
That's rad.
But I don't want to catch anything like outside of that, because like you said, there's really no incentive. Like I'm just getting another Pokemon to have to train. And training in this game is arduous at best. So I agree with you. I think there needs to be some type of middle ground. What I would like to see in the newer games, and this is something that the older games don't really have, but I still think it would kind of shine a light on what we're talking about here and make it better, is if we had quests that grant XP to your Pokemon on top of
that's such a great idea.
Like beating Pokemon, right? Like any other RPG, when you kill an enemy, you gain experience, but you're not strictly like farming enemies. You're doing side quests, and those side quests grant you more XP. So now imagine this: you're playing Pokemon. First off, adding side quests to a Pokemon game, like real side quests, where if you go to an NPC, it's like, hey, go and kill 5, Raticates, whatever. Like it could be something that simple.
Or go catch me a Dragonite. There's this elusive Dragonite that I'm,
exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Insert, whatever side quest this is. Number one, it makes the world of Pokemon feel more alive. These NPCs now offer something to you more important. And number two, it, like I said, it gives you this way to grant you like, hey, when you complete this side quest and you turn it in, whatever Pokemon, was on your team as you turn it in, maybe they all get experience. And then whatever Pokemon you beat along the way, you got whatever little sliver of experience you got from them. And there are games that have side quests. You look at Pokemon Legends Arceus. I thought that their side quests were magnificent. In Jubilife City, you talk to a person, they go, hey, I need a thing to help me farm. You give them a Torterra. Now there's a Torterra walking around. It's really cool. So now imagine that, but you also get this benefit of gaining experience points. I think that's a really good way to raise your Pokemon without having it just rely on I'm catching or I'm beating Pokemon. It kind of puts you in the world. It's more of an RPG. I mean, every RPG does this. Every RPG has side quests. So I don't think it's too crazy. And I think it fits what was so antiquated about the old games without making it as easy as it is now. Because you look at these games now and people complain, all my Pokemon are level 80 by the time I reach the Elite Four and they're all level 50, and I did nothing to do it. And, some people like that, but a lot of people don't. And I think that's why it's so jarring going back to the older games, is because people don't realize these games were always made with kids in mind, obviously, but these older games are crushingly difficult when you put them next to their newer game counterparts. You put X and Y or like Onward, anything from the 3DS onward, like especially look at Scarlet and Violet. Put Scarlet and Violet next to Fire Red and Leaf Green. Night and day. Genuinely night and day.
Absolutely night and day. And also you can get lost in these games like so easily. Like, dude, I literally got lost in the woods, and the woods are easy. Like the woods are easy. But then like there's like Victory Road, where like I remember playing that with my brother and just being like, we had to look at manuals, like that was before we knew we could go to YouTube. We probably at the time we couldn't go to YouTube. But it was like, we would actually like buy the manuals like to try to, figure out the secret guides, and like dude, we literally like we spent so long trying to like find our way through Victory Road, and like it was annoying as kids. It truly was. Like we were just like lost and we had no idea what to do. But then like it also made it so much more fun when we got through. It was just awesome.
That's a good point.
I remember that, and like I don't feel like that's really the case in a lot of modern Pokemon games either. Like it's pretty easy to find your way. Like it's not that hard to find your way.
Yeah.
So let's kind of end on that, just like a little bit of a discussion about what in rapid fire, kind of like what ways do we think Game Freak could learn a little bit from old Pokemon games like Leaf Green, Fire Red, and what ways would we like to see them move away from that? I'll start with I think there's the obvious, like, bro, I wanted to ask you this. I feel like we need to have this moment. Who's your HM slave? Who's your HM slave, bro?
Oh man,
you know what I'm saying?
It's
I don't think anybody really wants to see that come back. I remember just religiously using Farfetch'd, because he could use Cut and Fly. Like that was a big one.
True.
But I also remember there were so many times where I didn't know who to catch when I was younger. So then I would just end up giving it to like someone and be like, oh man, I guess I got to teach my Bulbasaur Cut, or like, like, I don't know, something like that you didn't want to. And then it was just kind of like, you hope to God later you can figure out how to get rid of that move when you eventually find another Pokemon to give it to. So I don't miss having to use HMs to get everywhere. I'm glad that's kind of a thing of the past. I don't know. I don't think I miss being poisoned and like walking around and having my Pokemon faint. I don't think I miss that. It is kind of charming playing it again and having that be the case, but I don't really think I miss that. Some things I do miss though. One thing I noticed is like playing through these again is just like the gym leaders and the characters, like they feel so immediately simple and iconic all at the same time. And it's not to say that we haven't had some like iconic gym leaders and characters since. We've had lots of really cool characters, but I don't think any of them have really stood out as much as like Gen 1. Like I remember all of those gym leaders so vividly, you know what I'm saying? Like they all kind of had this cool presence. And every single one, I felt like I was fighting like a big boss. You know, I was like, oh, this is intense. You know, whereas like sometimes, and this comes with the scaling, like the level scaling and stuff, and the EXP share. Like, yeah, now sometimes when I fight gym leaders, I'm like, it's just another gym leader. Like, it's not that hard to beat. Whereas at least when I was a kid, it was like, oh no, this is hard to beat. I really had to struggle. You know, I had to train. I had to train to even fight Misty. You know, her Starmie was like insane. You know, I remember that. And like psychic types felt very OP. So like fighting Sabrina was insane. I remember like feeling just freaking awesome when I beat Blaine, because I thought Blaine was like the coolest gym leader. I don't know, there's something about that. And then no,
he is. He's sick.
Shout out to Lance. I mean, Lance, come on, he's the Dragon Master. Like that was sick. Like there were just so many.
The Dragon Master with no dragon.
Yeah, with 4 Dragon Knights. Yeah, but I think that's one thing. I think there is something about like the characters, and like this speaks to the Pokemon too. Like I say that in all regards. Like the Pokemon also feel like some of them feel simpler, you know, like some of them feel simpler, but also like immediately just iconic, you know? And so I think from a design perspective, I think there's something Game Freak could learn from. Like simplicity doesn't mean it looks simple. Sometimes simplicity can be like, oh, this is a simplistic design because it's striking and it's iconic, you know? So I think that is a thing that maybe they could learn from. There was also just a sense of, you know, a sense of wonder, a sense of exploration that I think you feel playing like Leaf Green, Fire Red, and some of the old games. Do you feel in different ways? I don't think it's like worse now, but I do think you feel it a little differently. But maybe it was also just because it's, you know, nostalgia bias, and like, and those games were new. Those games were brand new then. So anything they can do to make the new games feel brand new, I think is going to go a long way. And to make it feel like you're exploring in a way you haven't explored before. That is what I really think is going to help catapult new games to greater heights. And I do think that in Winds and Waves, we're seeing that. I think they've actually, that is one thing that I'm noticing, is like those games already from the trailer feel a lot more exciting to explore. And that's how I felt playing Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Red. It was exploring them for the first time. I also think like little mysteries, like little Easter eggs that you don't expect is part of what makes Pokemon fun. I kind of hope they bring that back, because I remember when my brother and I found like number O, like mystery O or whatever, mystery number, that's what it was. And like seeing that glitchy like Pokemon that you could get like infinite Master Balls and stuff. I don't know. That was just awesome. That was crazy. I also felt like I was doing something illegal. I was like, I don't think we're supposed to see this Pokemon. Like this can't be right. You know, what did we do to the game? I thought we like broke our game or something.
The last thing I would say to this is just to your point of like the mystery and the wonder. That's all I want from Pokemon. I think Pokemon has lost that in so many ways, and I would just love to see it go back to that. I think having these like grand overall stories actually sometimes hurts Pokemon more than helps, because you look at the original stories for Red, Blue, Fire Red, Leaf Green, and even Gold, Silver, and Heart Gold, Soul Silver. The stories were so much simpler, and it really was more so just you going on an adventure. And I really think that has something to do with the gym leaders as well. In the original games, you know, I think the gym leaders felt so scary and iconic, and like these big moments, because there wasn't lead up. You know, when you met Brock for the first time, you were meeting him for the first time. You didn't meet him 2 cities prior. And you see him like kind of walk away, like it didn't hint to these characters. They were just there. And when they did hint to a character, say someone like Giovanni, and then he comes back and you find out he's the 8th gym leader, it hits so much harder because there was no reason to expect something like that.
There was no reason to expect he was going to be the gym leader.
These people that you would never meet. Exactly. So I think in the newer games, like as modern as they've gotten, I feel like they've lost hold of what Pokemon originally was, which is you are a 10-year-old, you know, or 15, depending on which game you pick, but you are a child who is thrust into this world that is filled with these wondrous creatures, these bigger than life people, and I kind of just want to experience that on my own. Don't give me these big story plots. Like even the legendaries, you look at the original game, there were no legendaries in the story. You found Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres on your own, and when you did, it felt crazy. It felt like you stumbled upon some some mythic beast. You know, this is what legendaries
Absolutely.
were. Mewtwo was in a cave. There was no reason to even believe he was in there, and he was there. So yeah, I think that's my final thought on it is I really just want modern Pokemon to go back to that feeling of like you are a person exploring a world. That's what those older games give. So that's where I'm at least.
It just feels great to have these games available again. Now we're going to dive into our next topic, which is what game do we think is coming to the eShop next? And I kind of want to look at this mainly in regards to old games. Like, for instance, like, do we think Silver Gold could be the next game coming, like a Heart Gold Soul Silver, or do we think maybe they'll do something like Crystal? Could they potentially just skip what we think they're going to do? Like, they don't go right to Heart Gold Soul Silver? Do we think they would just jump to like Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire? What do you think, Joe? What is the most likely thing we'll see next on the eShop? And we mentioned this a little bit in the last podcast. I was saying that I do think that we'll probably see another one of these drop towards the end of this year, maybe to fill that little holiday gap between Winds and Waves. And I still hold to that. I think there's a high chance that we're going to see another one of these games drop.
Yeah, if it wasn't already part of the plan, it's definitely part of the plan now. I think with how well FireRed and LeafGreen did in terms of sales, I think Game Freak definitely, I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't have thought that these would sell well, but at least now with seeing the numbers, seeing it stuck to the top of the eShop, I think it's inevitable that we get another thing. Do I see the reason I'm a little hung up on like what I can imagine them releasing next is because we have this weird precedent set now where we had NSO, right, which was Nintendo's way of dropping these Game Boy Advance games, these Game Boy games, these whatever older system games. But with FireRed and LeafGreen not being on NSO, which I know a lot of people had a problem with, but I actually prefer owning the game, not having a service taken away from me eventually. With now having them there, it does raise the question of like, are we going to get these remakes without the NSO involved? And I say this because there's a lot of rumors about NSO DS coming out with, there were some patents that people were talking about if there was a second screen attachment to the Switch 2, which is why they have the top USB-C port to make it an easy kind of like attachment. And if that is the case, I can't imagine Nintendo not wanting to put Pokemon on the NSO DS titles, like having that as a DS title, because those were the DS sellers. You look at Diamond and Pearl, those sold DSs like you wouldn't believe. So if that is the case, then would they remake like Heart Gold and Soul Silver? Like, it's tough because if they do something similar with FireRed and LeafGreen where they go, you know what, we're not going to do NSO, we're going to do our own release. I'm interested in seeing how they handle it. Like, how are they going to do the second screen? How are like there's just so many little things that that I'm interested in seeing. And we do quick sidebar to a game that is a DS release that maybe we can look to is Mega Man Star Force is coming out later this month. As we're filming this, and that is a DS game that is now getting a remaster on the Switch 2, and they found like a pretty interesting way to work with the two screen dilemma. So I do wonder like if they go that route. I'm not sure. I genuinely don't know. I think for me the best bet would be dropping Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. I just think finish up that generation, finish up Gen 3 releases. We'll have all the Game Boy Advance games, and this way you have like the full Pokedex available for people who want to transfer it to Pokemon Home. Because I know with Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, FireRed, and LeafGreen, with all of those games, you have a complete Pokedex. So that's kind of where I'm going. That's what I'm thinking, at least. I know you're very much more so thinking Soul Silver and Heart Gold, which makes sense because that would be the next remake. But Zach, let us into your mind. Like, where do you see this going?
Yeah, I think the thing that would be weird to me about them dropping Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald is if they release them and it's not Alpha Sapphire, Omega Ruby. I feel like that would be a little bit of a missed opportunity, but it also weirdly makes sense that they would just drop those games, like you said, so that we have all of the Gen 3 releases and so you can complete the Pokedex. Do you think people would want to play through Ruby and Sapphire again, though, if it wasn't Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire? I mean, obviously some people would. If it was Emerald, so many people have such nostalgia for specifically Emerald that I think I could see it. Like if they just dropped a version of Emerald, even if it didn't have any of the modern conveniences and it was just literally Emerald, like a little bit retouched, a little remastered, you know, to work on the Switch too. I could see that working, and to be honest, I would probably even be interested in that. Like I played a ton of Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire because I absolutely love those games. It's one of my favorite generations, and so like to go back and play Ruby Sapphire specifically without the upgrades would feel a little weird to me. I don't know if I'd be as interested in that, but I probably would if it was Emerald. I'd play through it again, absolutely. So I could see them doing that. Emerald actually feels like a strong contender, and maybe they just drop all three for the heck of it. But with Emerald,
that's more so why I said the other two.
The clear standout. I could see that.
Yeah,
I think I would still prefer if they just waited longer and figured out, you know, once you know some emulator is out that allows them to do the 3DS better, you know, then wait to do Alpha Sapphire, Omega Ruby. I feel like Nintendo, they are surprising. So I could easily see them just doing Emerald this year. And that would be cool. It definitely would be cool. I am leaning a little more towards them doing some version of Silver Gold though, even if that means they don't do the DS version and they just do Crystal. Like maybe they drop Crystal. We've seen them do that in the past. Maybe that's the route they go. I could see people being excited to just play Crystal in its old version. But yeah, like you said, if they figured it out with Mega Man, then I could also see them figuring out, like it's Nintendo and it's Pokemon. If they think they can print money, they'll figure out a way to do it. They'll figure out a way to make
they'll print that money.
Hard Gold, Soul Silver work. And I think most people would be probably more excited at this current stage to see Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Just if we could be following the generations. Technically, it isn't the next generation, like you said, because realistically, they just did Leaf Green, Fire Red, which is Gen 3 release. And so it would make sense in some ways to do Emerald. But I think a lot of people still view it as like, oh, Leaf Green, Fire Red, that's Gen 1. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, that's Gen 2. And so I think there's an argument that Game Freak is just going to try to figure out a way to do that. I think I feel like the safe bet is either Emerald or Crystal coming out the end of this year as just like here's something to tide people over. But I would be more excited about Heart Gold, Soul Silver, or even I don't think they're going to jump right to Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. If they do Heart Gold, Soul Silver, that'll come first, I think. But if I could just pick a game that was going to come to the eShop, I actually would love some version of X and Y, just because even though I just played a ton of Arceus, oddly, those are the games I've spent the least time in. And so to get to experience those on my Switch, that would be my, like, I'd want that, even though that doesn't make any sense. I'm just saying, if I had to pick one that I would want, that would be that. But if you could just pick one old game to appear on the Switch or Switch 2, what would it be, Joe?
For me, I think it would be Black and White 2, because like you, that's kind of my... So X and Y, funny enough, I would love, because that was weirdly enough my most played Pokemon. I was in college at the time, and I just had a group of friends who really liked Pokemon. 3DS was pretty new, so I put a lot of hours into that. So I would love to see X and Y as well. But Black and White 2, I think that came out around the time I graduated high school, I want to say, and I was kind of like falling off Pokemon a bit. I think Black and White I did love. I'm from New York, and Unova is based off New York, so like it should be my whole thing. And I know Gen 5 is like kind of the baby of the franchise right now. Like everyone's saying like that's their favorite, because that's just how Pokemon works. Every few years a new generation gets kind of lifted up, and right now Gen 5 is that sacred cow. So I would love to experience those games. I didn't play much of Black and White 2, and they seem
same.
insane.
That would actually be an epic. Epic one to have on
so
the
crazy. I look at
the
specifically the they have like that at the like the end game, the post game content in that game look insane. There's like that tournament where you battle like famous trainers, and they have like every gym leader that's been up to that point, red, blue, all of them. Like it's amazing. It looks sick. I would love to play through that. but that would be also a really weird game for them to just drop.
Oh yeah, it'd be super weird. But again,
like,
this is just our like, oh, if I could just pick one, like I think either of those would be super strong contenders.
That's my
That'd
one
be
then,
so
for
fun,
sure.
so fun. But yeah, back to what I think is realistic. I really do think at the end of this year we're going to see some version of Gen 2, whether that be Crystal or Heart Gold, Soul Silver somehow, or I think like you said, Emerald is a really strong contender too. I could see them doing either of those. But yeah, either way, I'm excited, and I do really think they're going to give us one of those games to kind of like tie us over. And like you said, it was like LeafGreen FireRed was top of the eShop. Whatever game they release, it's going to be top of the eShop again. And I do 100% think they're going to charge us for it again. I don't see them dropping it, on NSO. But maybe they've heard the outcry. Maybe they heard enough people being like, this should be on the NSO, and maybe they just will. I don't know. Let's cross our fingers. True. That would be pretty awesome. Although, like you, Joe, I also am one of those people that I feel great just having it on my Switch, to be honest. I like knowing that if I ever don't have NSO, or if ever they just decide to remove the games from NSO, I still have the game. It's really cool now just having it on my Switch too. But yeah, I think that's where I'm sitting. That's what I think. Joe, real quick, we're going to end with a little fun topic here. And just because this has been a retrospective on LeafGreen FireRed, it's also kind of a retrospective on just this 30th generation of Pokemon. This is a huge anniversary, and do we think Game Freak did enough? How do you feel about just the anniversary as a whole with everything they've released? I mean, looking back, they obviously dropped LeafGreen FireRed. They dropped Pokemon Pokopia. That's been a huge release. XD Gale of Darkness is available on NSO. Oh, we got some game. It's it's the expansion pass, so you got to pay more for it. So does that even count? I don't know.
And you need a Switch too.
And you need a Switch too. I think that's so silly that one's like tied to the Switch too. I think the GameCube specifically is tied to Switch too. I actually really dislike that. That's a side topic. But beyond that, and Champions is coming out. We obviously saw the release trailer for Winds and Waves. They gave us those cool little Game Boy OSTs that we could slot in, that I swear as soon as they showed that thing, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to be able to buy Game Boy games again and slot them into some actual Game Boy cartridge. No, it's OST soundtracks,
MP3
individual soundtracks. But oddly, it was priced way better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought that thing was going to be like $150 or something, and it wasn't. So
literally the exact amount I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. How much is it? It was like 60 or 80 they dropped it for. I thought it was a decent price for that. Am I going to buy it? Probably not. But it is really cool. It's a cool idea. Anyway, beyond that, do we think it was enough of a release for the 30th anniversary? Do we think they did enough?
I think to that, to everything you said, I think that all that stuff has been great. With the some hiccups of like XD Gale of Darkness being only for Switch 2, basically, FireRed and LeafGreen being $20, like all that stuff. Other than that, I think they've done a pretty good job. You look at even across their mobile games, they're doing like everything possible. So they're celebrating it quite a bit. Do I think it was enough? Probably not. This is the biggest franchise in the world. 30 years is crazy. I'm 30 years old. I started with this series. Personally, I really wanted like a Pokemon collection, just on cartridge, maybe Gen 1 through 4 or something like, something like that. I know that's such a big ask, but really it isn't. So many other franchises have done that. Again, talking about Mega Man Battle Network, which was my other childhood favorite game. They did their collection of 12 games all in one, across 2 like discs. So I know it's possible, and I wish that that's really what they did. Am I happy with everything that they've done? Yes. I would like to see a bit more, but the year's not over. So who knows? Who knows what else there is? And I will say Gen 10 is at least looking to start off this 30 years. It's looking good. It's looking good for that to be the first outing after being around for 3 decades. But that's the takeaway there. What about you, Zach? Do you think that this was enough? And if not, what would you have liked to see?
if I'm being completely honest, all they had to do to get me excited was to show me the Gen 10 trailer. Like, am I a little disappointed that it isn't coming out this year? Absolutely. But weirdly, that almost felt better, like seeing that it wasn't coming out to 2027. It was almost them saying,
True.
Yes, we've listened, we've heard the complaints, and we are really going to take our time to make this a polished game. And like that in of itself for me felt like that's worthy of the 30th anniversary of Pokemon, because it was almost like an admittance of like, yeah, we kind of screwed up with Scarlet Violet. Like we rushed those games out, and we are taking the time to not do that again. And I truly think it was their way of saying you are going to get to experience the best version of Pokemon in 2027. And at least for this anniversary, we're going to show you a taste of the games. And they didn't just reveal a game, or sorry, they didn't just give us a like story trailer or a graphics trailer or something. It was actually gameplay. Like we got to see like what the world looked like. We got to see the Pokemon. They showed us a decent amount of it, and it was enough to satiate us till the games come out. And then to me, everything else on top of that was gravy. You know, I was like, okay, cool. Like I already knew LeafGreen and FireRed were coming out because that got leaked by Game Freak, essentially, if we want to call a spade, you know. And then, you know, we already knew Champions was coming out. We already knew Pokopia was a thing. But the fact that Pokopia came out during this time frame too feels huge. Like that game has just been massive. Yeah. I'm still playing it, absolutely love it, and I'm probably going to be playing it for a very long time to come. I think that game alone could hold people off till Gen 10 if they play it, you know, the correct way. We got XD Gale of Darkness. Like you said, it's only available on Switch 2, but you know, it's an incredible game as you already talked about, as you already convinced me, you know. So yeah, it's incredible. And so yeah, I think they gave us a lot. The OSTs was like a fun little extra side dish, you know. It's like, okay, cool. We knew we probably expected they were going to give us some kind of gimmicky thing we could buy, and that's the gimmicky thing. We got that. And hey guys, my favorite Pokemon game today is Pokemon Sleep, you know, on iPhone, because I'm sleeping on that game. Just kidding. I'm playing it the right way. I'm sleeping on the game. I don't even play the game. That's as sleepy as it gets.
Yeah, the fact that is the right way to play it.
No, I actually did download that game. I played it for like a week or two. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It tracks my sleep. And then I immediately just like it became like a chore to do before bed. And I was like, I'm good. I'm done. Anyway.
Yeah, that's why I stopped it too.
Yeah. Like I don't need something else to worry about before I go to sleep.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I think it's been great. I think overall it's been really cool. Would I have liked to see more? Always, because the consumer is never full. But no, I think the best thing they could have done, like you said, is they should have dropped some kind of compilation, and they didn't. Again, am I surprised? No, partly because LeafGreen, we already knew it was coming out, FireRed, so I was like, there you go. That's what we're getting. But it would have been so easy to just be like, oh, here's the original red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal, maybe ruby, sapphire, you know, emerald too. And like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to know what the price would have been of that, but I'm just saying like that would have been really cool to like just release that. Like, cause I do think there's a lot of people that would also like to just play those games in their originality, in their like original form. Yeah. So that would have been really cool. I think if they would have done that, I would have probably like really sealed it as like, oh, this is an incredible anniversary. But yeah, overall, I'm happy about it. Honestly, I think we got a lot of great things, and I'm just glad Winds and Waves is coming out. That's the big one for me. And again, the year is still in its early stages. I do think they're going to drop more. I think there could be more if Heart Gold, Soul Silver, or another game drops towards the end of this year. I wouldn't be surprised, and that would even further cement this as a good anniversary. Also, let us know what you think about LeafGreen and FireRed. Have you guys got to play these games again, or are you playing them for the first time? That was a fun retrospective. We hope you all enjoyed it. And now we're going to do our first poll ever. We haven't done a poll before, but I kind of want to open it up to you guys and just ask like what game you are playing in 2026, which Pokemon game, because as we mentioned earlier, it is kind of a stacked little list. LeafGreen and FireRed, Pokopia, XD Gale of Darkness or Legends ZA. Obviously, Legends ZA came out at the end of last year, but there's a lot of people who either haven't picked it up yet or it's still pretty fresh. And there's the egregious DLC. Anyway, so which game are you playing in 2026? And we're going to start that. That's going to be a thing moving forward. At every next podcast, we'll announce the results at the start of the next podcast. So yeah, guys, please participate. Let us know, mainly just because we want to hear from you, and it helps us know what games you guys are excited about too. This is a good way for us to know like which games you guys are playing and which stuff you guys want to hear more of. Anyway, that is Bros and Badges. We will see you all next week. Until then, bros out.
Peace.